Hi everyone, in this short video I'm going to introduce pedagogy prompts. What are they and why might they be useful? So quite some time ago I started thinking about how we might fast track expertise, and clearly there are so many different elements of expertise. This is only just a short subset of them. What I'd like to do in this presentation is focus explicitly on subject knowledge, but more specifically on pedagogical content knowledge, PCK for short. Before I do that, I just want to take you back a few years to when I was an NQT in my first year of teaching. And you'll notice that because I've got this huge bag basically dragging across the floor, essentially a backbreaker, with so many different styles of textbooks in, might even have a few journal articles in from the ATM or MA. And that's because I wanted to increase my pedagogical content knowledge as quickly as I could to find lots of different representations, examples, in order to just, become a better teacher. At the time, there were also a few websites that were that were pretty good. Not that many at all, though, and that was actually quite helpful in a sense. But all of this kind of attempt to increase pedagogical content knowledge was very much done in isolation. So it was a personal issue of mine, learning in isolation. I'm very aware that some certain departments there's a huge amount of collaboration that goes on, pedagogical collaboration that goes on in department meetings. And also, if that's not the case, Twitter nowadays is quite different to what it was back then. And there's so much collaboration that happens. But as a more general issue, if we consider Twitter being such an important platform for a medium for collaboration, many of our colleagues aren't on Twitter. Only a small proportion of educators are on social media. So we've got some issues there in terms of learning pedagogical content knowledge in isolation, which I think so often happens, and also that where some of us find this great inspiration, others don't. So I'd like to introduce a pedagogy prompt, which I hope is something that would be used at the department level. But if people are on Twitter and they don't have the opportunity to discuss pedagogy in departments, then hopefully we can discuss it there. Here are a few examples of pedagogy prompts. So here's the first one. And in this particular example, the kind of major hinge question was, which question would you start with? If you were starting with the area formula half A, B, sin, C, would you start with question 3? Would you start with question 5 or question 1, for example? And then what would be your sequence moving forward? Also, for example, you might ask, is there a question you wouldn't include in the initial sequence, but would include maybe a lesson or two down the line? After that, the conversation could go on so many different tangential pathways, and what we can do, of course, is novice teachers can learn from the expertise of more experienced educators, but also the other way around as well. Here's another pedagogy prompt. This, once again, is quite a provocative prompt in which form of the cosine rule you might utilize. And that might depend on the group that you're teaching and the time in which it's in your learning journey. This third one, for example, being quite an interesting one that I developed for a very low attaining group in which we didn't have that much time to complete things before their external exam. And they found it particularly useful. But would you use it in every single context? I doubt it. So here are a few kind of hinge questions for this prompt. Which formula do you use? Or maybe a formula that isn't listed above. And question 3 there being quite interesting. Is there a context in which you would consider teaching number 3? Is it a problem that this doesn't appear in textbooks or formula books? Here's more of an informative pedagogy prompt. This one might last a little bit longer, and I kind of imagine a kind of think, pair, share scenario here, where department members would spend a few minutes thinking about these prompts, then sharing some ideas, and then moving on from there, moving on to talk about different elements of Pythagoras and different hooks that aren't contained on this particular prompt, with so many different possible hinge questions that could be discussed as well. So where are these pedagogy prompts going to be? They're going to be on my new website, danpearcy.com, alongside surprising practice, something that I talked about quite recently, the virtual maths comp, and also my mathematical beauty prompts as well, alongside some GeoGebra applets to go along with that. If you're in a department that doesn't get to discuss pedagogy often, maybe there's just too much administration to deal with, then it might be that we can get on Twitter once or twice a week and discuss a prompt altogether collaboratively. But I plan on essentially publishing 1 to 2 prompts a week for quite some time to come. I'm really excited about that. Thank you very much. Bye.